What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Good morning. Welcome to the morning view. Day before a match day. Busy, packed day. We've got press conference reaction coming up. Manchester United taking on Luton Town tomorrow at Old Trafford. Have to bounce back. How many times? Someone said in the preview yesterday with me and Avelina, how many times are we going to have to bounce back? How many times? And I saw that comment and I was like, as many as it takes. As many bounce backs as it takes. When's the season going to start? When do we just get real and say, no, the season's not really going to amount to much. Season's not going to start. It's just probably just going to be this. I don't know. But we've got loads to talk about. The big news, which was coming out sort of back end of yesterday evening, and now an extension of that this morning, which we'll talk about, is there is a date set Monday, next Monday, coming. Apparently, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS, there is going to be an announcement about their 25% takeover or minority investment of Manchester United. Owen's looking a bit. What's happening? Has he seen new news, or is there?
Yeah. We'll go through the news because there's now news contradicting the news, which is not surprising. But you know. Oh, actually. I got it back. I found it.
Yeah, you found it. Good. That's the original because it is Simon Stone. Yes, I can see that. And it does make sense actually
with what we were saying.
There.
Yes, yeah.
We literally just said that before we went live, so might even change the title on that one as well. Back to what we originally had it as, because it's true. But we'll get to that. Like you said, we'll get to that. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're also going to talk about Varane situation, You don't want to just throw things out there and say he's fallen out of Eric Ten Hag and he'll never play for Man United again. You know, we don't know any of these things, but we need to discuss what's going on, what some of the media outlets are reporting, and give our opinion on this curious case of Raphael Varane, because something's happening and it's we just never expected to see it, did we really? And there is actually some really interesting conversations as to whether or not it's a good or bad thing. So loads to talk about. Also, you could join a membership if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to, remember that you can. Let us know where you're watching from as well. Arteta's son says hello. Big up to Arteta's son. Kristen says Monday, but that's a Bobby's chart. Yeah, we're going to get into that, Kristen. Greg Frost says office party at Man United this weekend is going to be wild. And Qatar is still in the race. So Jim Ratcliffe is just a PR spin for the media, says Rad Jones. Very, very hopeful from Rad there. And actually, quickly, it's a bit of good news for Somi. Somi says, went for an interview yesterday after watching the morning show as usual. Got the call a few hours later. I got the job, my dream job. Big up to you, Somi.
Yes.
Big up to you, Somi.
Claps in the chat. Yes. Claps in the chat.
Claps in the chat for Somi, man. Good little bit of positive, big bit of positive news there. Big up to you. Big up to anyone else who's had some positive news in their lives recently as well. Big up to
Done okay.
Hey, listen, they pulled up on me, man.
No.
No. Do you know how much effort it is for them to come down to my studio, to our studio,
I know.
to you?
I know.
And he give it the, where's that? Where is he? Oh, is he here? Is he here?
I know.
Fucking
yeah. It's weird, actually, because, I mean, I saw on AFTV, was it Invincibles? I saw Don Robbie and I saw the judge. And I saw the judge and then being like, oh, karma. You still lost last weekend. What are you talking about? Like they're going, oh, VAR. They're still moaning about VAR.
Yeah, but they're saying that we laughed at them and we had to hold that because that's our karma for laughing.
We've been moaning about VAR all season. That's what I don't get. I saw Liverpool fans give it to us going, you see, you laughed at Klopp. I don't think we necessarily did. We're bottom of the league when it comes to VAR decisions. We've been moaning about VAR all season. Get your facts straight.
And what I did say to Robbie and DR, I was like, hang on a minute. You're saying all this stuff, reading statement. My club and my manager have not written a statement to UEFA, and they won't because they're not pathetic.
And we've got the most punitive decisions, or as KG would say, the most impunitive decisions. against us. Let's get into the
I was just about to say that. Let's just get into the news.
Let's get into the Ratcliffe news
quickly.
So, first of all, again, as Flex said, this has been a bit of a sort of staggered kind of thing over the last sort of 24 hours or so. Firstly, Kaveh Solokol went on Sky Sports. You can see the quote on the screen right now. And he had said, a date has now been set for the announcement that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS will be buying a minority stake of around 25% in Manchester United, which, again, is a development. That's an actual date put on it. Now, he didn't say exactly what that date is. That's when we get into this morning, where you had, shall we say, some less scrupulous sources, i.e. The Sun, saying Sir Jim Ratcliffe is set to take over his 25% of Manchester United's stake on Monday. And then it gets into all of the plans he's going to do. We'll talk about the plans in just a second, because in the last, 5 minutes? I mean, that quickly, this has been refuted, and it didn't really add up, but Simon Stone has confirmed it, saying the Sir Jim Ratcliffe announcement will not be on Monday, given that is the date of Sir Bobby Charlton's funeral. That, of course, that was confirmed by Manchester United yesterday, that the funeral would be taking place on Monday. Plans for the funeral have been quite actually laid out publicly. There's going to be, I think they've asked for representatives of every Premier League club, I believe, to be there at the funeral as well. I believe also, didn't Copenhagen too get an invitation to attend, have a club representative there? So obviously, look, it's a Manchester United icon, legend, part of the Trinity. They wouldn't football icon. They wouldn't have an announcement that big overshadowed that event that day. So to be honest, when the report came out this morning, it didn't really line up that much anyway. So I don't know. But maybe the general feeling is, maybe this gets back to what Kaveh was saying, that a date has been set. Probably not Monday, so likely we're looking at probably Tuesday, something like that. Probably nothing before.
Very, very soon, isn't it?
Nothing before the funeral, so nothing obviously today. It won't get announced, I don't think, over the weekend to overshadow a match day or anything like that. So what you're really looking at is possibly Tuesday or at some point next week. That's kind of
the general immediate sentiment. Next day, maybe not even.
So possibly here, what we've seen is the Sun kind of guess and jump the gun, and based off the reports that come from the likes of Kaveh and that yesterday. Obviously, again, this is kind of like a developing story this morning, so I'll keep my eyes on social media, because I've just seen that Ben Jacobs has tweeted too. But as far as what else the Sun said regarding plans, maybe that are in place at the moment, once this announcement indeed is done, they've said that Jim Ratcliffe will immediately control United's football operations as the Glazer family take a back seat. We'll wait and see. He is already planning a massive overhaul of the club's player scouting and acquisition network. The jobs of CEO Richard Arnold and football director John Murtough and the director of football operations David Harrison are all at risk. Ratcliffe is concerned how the trio have continued to oversee a succession of expensive purchases following the departure of previous chief Ed Woodward. So basically, his thought process is, you're the same as Ed. Why, basically? Ratcliffe accepts that Erik ten Hag has credit in the bank following last season's third place finish and a Carabao Cup success. He also concedes ten Hag was brought in 18 months ago on the back of a succession of failures before him. The Ratcliffe deal to become the minority shareholder in Manchester United is expected to be agreed during this month's international break, possibly. So the Sun, wait a minute, the Sun at the end of this report, they've got, it's going to be Monday, and at the end they go, it's going to be agreed in the next week, possibly as early as next week.
It's crazy, because also I think you do have to. They've already backtracked, and we are going to get into Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bit as well. But doing that bit, it's important to then bring in, which I know he's going to get to, but I may as well just do it now because I've got it in front of me as well, to go into the Ben Jacobs side of things, because typical the Sun, isn't it? Honestly. Because Sir Ben Jacobs says Sir Jim Ratcliffe remains on course to complete his 25% purchase of Man United. However, nothing will be announced on Monday. All focus on Sir Bobby Charlton's funeral, of course. He says a chance it's agreed next week, but that's best case scenario. Sources indicate it could yet take another few weeks. There will also be a gap between an announcement and completion. So, i.e., we're going to get, the announcement that Sir Jim's going to take over 25%, but they won't actually get completed until a little bit after that, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe hasn't yet done the owners and directors test, which can't come until later in the process. So Ben Jacobs firmly suggesting that actually it's not as imminent, and it's nearly there, but he's saying just slow down a little bit. There's still, still got to cross some T's, dot the I's, cross the T's. And there's certain bits of the process that he actually can't do until he gets to that stage, which he's nearly there.
Yeah.
So
it's like
it's
a
coming.
It's like a football transfer in the sense of you get the double announcement sometimes, don't you? You get the announcement, everything's a deal agreed in principle. Then you get the proper announcement once they're there holding up the shirt. So I guess as Ben Jacobs is saying there, in a best case scenario, you get that first announcement next week that everything's been agreed and everything's in principle. As far as actually effectively it's done, everything's signed. He's gone through the fit and up proper person's test. How long could that take? You might be looking at the end of the month, maybe beginning of the year. And to be fair, that lines up with previous reporting that suggested that the idea of them being in and operating in January, it might be a bit tight. And also, even if they are in, United have to be really careful not to be like, oh, right, we got them through the door. Cool. Like, just do the January transfer window. And everyone's like, well, we haven't even prepared. We don't even know what we're doing or anything like that. It's not an excuse not to get business done, but you don't want to also rush into things, I guess, at the same time too, right? So we might be getting the big story. We might be getting movement next week. We might not, basically, which is, I mean, what a way to sort of sum up this takeover. Well, it's not even a takeover. The investment process, the strategic alternatives exploration, Flex, is it might be next week. It might not.
Yeah, it might be next week. It might not. I think it's building up. It's building up to an end. I think we can all see which way this is going. We've seen that for a while. I think the initial thing, I'm thinking back to when I was in Jamaica and that first news broke about it just being over with Qatar. Even that feels like ages ago now. So that's just been out of my mind for ages. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's gone. And there's a lot of like quick wins, quick sort of positives. You know, we're still going to be that's a Jim Ratcliffe can get basically early on. I had to finish that bit off, because you're probably going to think I'm saying everything's fine. There are a few good,
so you're saying.
So you're saying, right? Because by him coming in and changing things structurally quickly, it buys Eric Ten Hag time because there's been more change. And rightly so, you have to give that manager time in a new environment with a new structure. And most importantly, you need to give that manager and these people the chance to work in a transfer window. And quite a few of them as well, not just one, but it buys time. Also, if he announces his roadmap as well of what's for the club, I know there's that 245 odd million that's been pledged to infrastructure, which it's something, but let's be honest, it's not really going to scratch the surface. That's just more like a little keep them sweet. It feels like it's a little token gesture. You've got that. And then you've got, like I said, the roadmap of how he proposes, hopefully if he proposes, because it's not clear yet, to actually have a full buyout and what that looks like. So, yeah, and if we do see people like Paul Mitchell come in and Jean-Claude Blanc come in and, Dave Brailsford, who, again, there's going to be question marks. Massive. He's synonymous with INEOS and the cycling, and it's his right hand man, isn't it? Is it just is that bit of it friends from jobs for mates? We all these things are skeptical, so there are a lot of question marks. But within it, there is some welcome things, like if he comes in, like I said, you see Paul Mitchell, who's an expert in his field, come in. If you see Jean-Claude Blanc, who's an expert in his field, and then you see people like Richard Arnold and John Murtough, who's been said are at risk of, being sacked, and with this change, people would welcome that change. So it doesn't mean it's going to work. It doesn't mean that all the other elements of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to do, we're going to enjoy or we're going to agree with, because we don't know yet. So we have to be skeptical. But there are some small things that he can do that fans would go, well, I'll speak for me because I want to speak for everyone. I would look at and go, I would welcome Paul Mitchell coming in. I would welcome, Jean-Claude Blanc coming in and people like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing with this whole process, isn't it? Is like you said, would you welcome those changes? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you welcome those changes? But it still doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be skeptical, or you can't still ask questions about this whole thing. Because again, this is still very atypical, this whole process of someone having 25% and still having this amount of control. And I know people go, well, that's what you paid for. Yes, but again, sometimes business doesn't necessarily work like that. Again, what's written down? I want to know what's written down. What's written down? What's the roadmap? Sporting control and the Glazer is going to take a back seat. in what writing are they taking a backseat sort of thing? You know, is it just, oh, it's an understanding, or is it actually, no, it says here that Jim Ratcliffe has got the final say on sporting matters, whatever, how that looks like. Those questions I think are fine to be asked and continue to be asked about the footballing structure at United too. I also don't think that we still got, and this is a challenge, I know, for some people, but we've got to be realistic at the same time too, that just because the deal is done and they're in does not mean overnight we suddenly are going to be smashing teams 5-0, 6-0, or anything like that. We will still, you know what I mean? But that's what some people are like, it's done now, so we're back, basically. You know what I mean? It'd be like, no. When you've got like over a decade of, and plus 2 decades of mismanagement, there's a lot of stuff to unpick there, you know, and a lot of that stuff's going to take time to fix. If you're expecting big sweeping changes in January, again, that might not be coming. Our FFP situation is still what it is, you know, and again, January might be a case of, like I said a few minutes ago, like we might, with, you know, the recruitment plans that we had or don't have will probably still be in place, and they'll probably still just stick to that because everyone's trying to get their feet under the table. And then maybe it's really like the summer when you're really going to start to see these big changes. One would think if they get in, you know, I don't know when it actually gets properly ratified, maybe by December, maybe by January. From their mindset, they might think, right, let's just get all of these pieces in place. And then from the end of the season, we can really, really do what we want to do. We can put across these plans. We can set up these plans to help out with the stadium. We can set up the new organizational structure of getting a new CEO in and getting, you know, a director of football in. Because even if they go, right, Jean-Claude Blanc's the CEO, well, then it's his job as the CEO to be overseeing things, doing an internal audit of things, trying to get his own people in. Same with Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell comes in. He's not going to immediately be like, right, I'm just going to go into this January transfer window and do all this kind of stuff. He's probably going to be like, right, I'm looking forward to the summer. If there's any business maybe we can do immediately, and we can have a meeting about it, as if to say, okay, maybe this person would work, or we can get this person in, great. But long-term, what's our long-term strategy? The whole point of having people like Paul Mitchell and Jean-Claude Blanc in is to think long-term strategy.
Exactly.
So they shouldn't come in and then just be like panicking and doing all this kind of stuff. So fans need to remember that, because if they come in and the first, you know, 3 or 4 months, there's not really that much difference, you know what the reaction will be. It'll be just the same. What's going on? It's just the same. It's going, no. And I know not at the end of a year-long process, you don't want to hear patience, but that's kind of the territory that we're in at the moment, realistically.
Sorry, I'm trying to make myself straight here on the screen, but
you're making yourself worse.
So I need to go back the other way, right? Okay, I was going to say
wrong direction. Wrong direction, Fleck. Direction fleck.
Yeah,
there you go.
Direction fleck. Yeah, good. That was annoying me. OCD. Yeah, I know. I agree with 100% with everything you said, because we want the change now, and when we say the change now, we want both sorts of change now. We want, obviously, we know it has to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So okay, we wanted Qatar, that's gone. But we want them in as quickly, because we want the Glazers to not have control. We want this done. We don't want them near the club. So we want them in quickly. We want these people in quickly. And obviously, the thing we want most quickly is the change on the pitch and the change of fortunes. But this is part of it. This, you know, when this does get announced, this is like the most significant news in the history of Man United, in recent times, in recent history of Man United. It's a big deal. Like, hopefully that it means what it should mean, which is it's the beginning of the end for the Glazers. Like, really is. You know, it's a progressive loosening of the baton. You know what I mean? It's a progressive loosening of their control of the club. So eventually, Sir Jim Ratcliffe can have full control and run us properly. That's what we want to see. I'm not in this bitter thing of like, well, I didn't think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was the right purchase, was the right guy to start doing this. So I don't give a crap. Like, it's all, I don't want him to fail. I don't want him to. No, if it's going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, which it's going to be, I have to accept that. But I want to see him make good, tangible changes. And I want to see him eventually get the Glazers out. And I want to see him run the football club how it's supposed to be run. Like you've said many times, Man United doesn't need the sugar daddy approach, which essentially we would have had all the money in the world with the other approach. I get that. But I think the reason why you were saying that, and you were right to say that, which I agree with, is that it didn't have to be Qatar. It did, you know, it just needs somebody who understands and cares, and somebody who, you know, knows that the correlation between performance and business slash dividend slash profit, if you correlate the two in a positive way, then as a businessman, you're going to make more money if your team's more successful. And you care about the club. Like your number one thing isn't just taking money out. You care about the football club and run it properly. That's what we need. We just need somebody to run this properly and get the best in class, get the experts in who get the right people in the right jobs. That's what we need. We're always going to make money, right? And of course, right now, we do need an injection of cash in the way we think and the way we sell players and the way we buy players. We need to be more efficient. That's why we're in this mess. So we do now need an injection of cash. But this can be turned around with the correct decisions being made. Any football club can be turned around with the correct decisions being made. And Man United, with how big it is, with how much revenue it's going to generate, it needs proper decisions. That's the main thing.
And that's why it's farcical. That's why for years, the way we have been run is farcical. And that's why within the sort of football operational and business world, we're laughed at, you know what I mean? In terms of how we operate at a transfer level or how we operate in terms of our stadium and our facilities, we're laughed at because it doesn't compute. So a lot of people that do own football clubs or run football clubs successfully, they look at United and they go, they're that big and they're that bad with their transfers. Who runs that? And they go, no one with really that much football and experience. And they go, really? And they go, well, we're the biggest club. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. And they go, that's their training facilities, really? And they go, really? Oh my God. Or they go like, that's one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And the roof leaks in their stadium. They go, wow. And it's not even as if like, you know, when it was like AC Milan and stuff like that, and they had similar things and they go, oh yeah, the San Siro's falling apart. But they had their spells of sort of dodgy owners and financial problems and stuff like that. And again, they don't make anywhere near the money that we do. So they look at it and they go like, how? Like, how does that work? So as we've said before, it's not as if, that's why for me, when it came to this whole thing, you know, it was never, I've always said it was never about where the money was coming from or who it was or anything like that. Disgrace cheat. What it was about, again, getting the Glazers out. So whoever offered that and whoever could get there, I was behind. So the quickest solution felt like it was Sheikh Jassim because he was buying them out 100%. Wasn't massively in favor of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe one because it was over a longer period of time. And again, we still don't know what that looks like. So that's why I say earlier on, it's healthy to ask those questions. And by asking those questions, doesn't mean you're a Sir Jim hater. Doesn't mean you're sort of, you know, anti-British or whatever. You just don't like him, you know, all that kind of stuff. No, it's just a case of what does that look like? What does it look like? How are we? What's the long-term goal here? Where's the roadmap? Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Because I think at this point, after having 2 decades of, you know, pitch darkness, nothing, to have even a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, we can get behind that. I think everyone can get behind that. So just again, what does that look like? And I don't think we should be swayed also by these, as you mentioned, quick wins, quick fixes. If it is a case of Paul Mitchell comes in and Jean-Claude Blanc comes in, we go, oh, cool. And then we see next summer a transfer window that's actually quite good and quite progressive or anything like that. We go, oh, that's good. You still got to focus on what's the long-term aim here. If the long-term aim is that there is a realistic, tangible opportunity written down on paper that you can buy out the Glazers over the course of several years, and I think everyone can get behind that. Everyone can.
Yeah,
but again, that just needs to be communicated. That is the must.
And it doesn't mean that also on the opposite of what you said, that, you know, if you are looking at some of the positives that, you know, can come from this, oh, you know, you're just supporting Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and you know he just wants to be with the Glazers. So, you know, no, it doesn't mean that you're all behind everything and you're just blindly saying this is the best thing to ever happen to Man United. You're not saying that either. And that's what it is. It's like we want, as a fan base, we do this, don't we? Whether it's down to the manager, you know, certain players or decisions that are made at the top. It's like you have to think one thing, which means one thing, or you have to think another thing, which means another thing. Like you can't kind of have everything. Like just because you say that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is welcomed to make change at the club, that doesn't mean that you're okay with it. All of his manifesto, he's going to change it. You're saying he is 100% the best person to do this. I can't wait. Sit down, you haters. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. In Sir Jim Ratcliffe, we trust. It ain't that. because we don't know. So the key is balance. You shouldn't be, in my opinion, I don't think we should be closed off to what he's going to do. Well, because if you do, you're just going to live under a rock because change is coming. So you can choose to do that.
Angry as well.
You know what I mean? And you're going to be very angry every day. You can be very, very angry every day. And I get that. If you ask me, if you strip it down and say, Flex, what did you want to happen? You know what I wanted to happen, but it didn't. Yeah. So I'm not going to be, not looking at some of the positives that can come from it. But at the same time, you're also going to live with a head under your rock or have some very nasty shocks if you believe that all of these decisions are going to be perfect and how Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to do this is going to be perfect and everything's just going to be fine because at least now we've started it. It's too early to say
it's 2008 all over again. We're back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're gonna win everything. You know what I mean? That's what we got to be careful for too, because again, it's just not going to work like that.
Just patience.
It just won't. You know what I mean?
We just need patience. I do think what was interesting, which obviously more quotes are coming out, is from the piece of from Simon Stone's piece on the BBC this morning. I can see the aggregators putting it, but I had the full article up anyway. When sources with a close working knowledge of Ratcliffe have told BBC Sport it was impossible to imagine that he would agree to be in a silent partner. Many, both at United and in close proximity, believe the club will benefit from a new pair of eyes looking at how it's run. And obviously, like it goes on to say about Sir Dave Brailsford, who's heavily, involved with the performance director's role at British Cycling. So, again, that's somebody coming sort of the best in class from cycling. What transferable skills is there in being head of performance for that versus doing it for football? There's a lot. Do you know what I mean? We have to think about these things, and only time that puts my back up a little bit. It does.
Yeah,
that makes me think. It's his guy, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes you nervous, and that was things that I raised early on in this process. I think if you look at Nice is a really good example of this, and in terms of the patience, right? Because when did they acquire them? 2019, I think it was, and for 4 years. Three and a bit years, didn't go great. Like it didn't. And again, the fans weren't happy about it. This season, of course, totally different, right? They're top of Liga. I don't think they've lost a game. They've got a young, progressive, I think he's an Italian manager. And by all accounts, the last 12 months, Sir Dave Brailsford and others at that club had led a bit of an internal audit again. And so people had left and they moved people in. And I think they did those sort of classic things that you do when you buy a smaller club, and again, it's not really totally applicable between Nice and Man United. But when you try and get a smaller club, make them big, we're signing Kasper Schmeichel and Aaron Ramsey and Ross Barkley, and we'll do all that, and don't really work for them. This season, it is working for them, and my only hope is that it doesn't take 3 years of them making errors and it getting worse before it gets any better, sort of thing. My hope is that they've learned mistakes clearly that they've made with how to run a football club there. That was almost like a bit of a guinea pig, a bit of a pilot of going, okay, right, this is how actually football works or anything like that. My hope is that that's the case. But we'll have to wait and see. But again, my point with that is that, look, again, just because they haven't bought Man United, just because they've got 25% or they've got sporting control does not mean that, again, overnight, everything's just going to be fixed. It's going to be
just cut off. Oh, right, yeah,
yeah.
That was a very abrupt. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that was my point, Flex. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to start to see it. I want to start to see it happen now. It's just been so drawn out. We're talking over a year now, or coming up to a year. I can't remember the exact date in November it was, but it was at the World Cup. And here we are. It's taken a full year. Never in a million years did we think it would take this long. And to get to this as well, a minority investor.
Yeah.
Which again, in that famous manifesto, when we said it, yeah, exactly, with a lot of questions. When we said on that original statement from the Glazers, strategic alternatives, minority investment, can't rule out a full sale, all these kind of words that were in there. And I remember my first reaction was, yeah, we're excited, but minority investment or strategic alternatives. I went, And essentially, that's what's happened. That is what's happened. This is minority stakeholding. It's exactly that. It's a big chunk. It's a significant chunk of minority stakeholding, the biggest in a long time. But also it's coming with some apparently so, some big changes and some big say for the minority investors. If I'm to guesswork, right? If I was to guess, I think there has to, for him to be having assurances of sporting control, right, at 25%, right? I think there has to be some roadmap of their coming out, because I just can't see if there isn't. One, I'll be fuming. I'll be absolutely fuming. I think, what on earth are we doing? But two, I'll just be confused because it doesn't make business sense. Or does it? Because they're saying we do want to be the majority thing, but actually we don't want the responsibility. We want it on you, because if it goes shit, we can blame you. Or, which you don't want to praise the Glazers for anything because they're scheming. There's got to be something for gains for them. But would it be them saying we are actually shit at this? Let's just let someone else do it. Which I think that is the probably least likely.
I think when it comes to it, they have said, haven't they, over and over again, that basically Sir Jim, INEOS, they wouldn't get involved if there wasn't the possibility of that sort of full takeover. They wouldn't do that. But at the same time, knowing the Glazers, that's why that's my sort of skeptical side of this. Just knowing the Glazers, I just don't know if they'd back themselves that much into a corner of being like, in 4 years' time, it's locked in. They could buy us out over that period of 4 years, because as much as we despise the Glazers and all that kind of stuff, one thing you cannot argue with them, and it's their positive and our negative, is that they are very shrewd businessmen. I mean, look at the deal in the first place to acquire Manchester United. Now it's outlawed. And even if they had accepted 5 billion, whatever it was, from Sheikh Jassim, I mean, the return on investment would be gigantic of what they actually paid for United. And they take the money out of Manchester United and line their own pockets. They're no fools when it comes to that regard, right? And even look at this. They've got someone that was willing to pay 1.3 billion pounds for 25% of an organization. It's madness, realistically. It's massively overpriced, and they've managed to convince someone to do it. So I do have those reservations of, would they back themselves into a corner of like, okay, in 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, we've put these sort of negotiation periods or all this kind of stuff in there that they could actually buy us out. But at the same time, as we mentioned before, I also don't believe that INEOS and Jim Ratcliffe would come into this deal without that being a possibility. If that wasn't written down or on the table or anything like that, I mean, a lot of sort of credible people have said that if that wasn't on the table, they'd have withdrawn their offer.
Yeah, like why are they here?
They wouldn't have got involved. So that, for me, that's the most key thing. There are two things that for me are the most key things. One is the priority is the roadmap. What does it look like? And two, sporting control. What does that look like? Actually, nuts and bolts of it written down. Because if it's just an assumption, I mean, Glazer are going to take a step back. For me, that's not enough. That's not enough. I don't trust their word or anything like that. You know what I mean? I don't trust that. So they're the two most important things. But again, it's sort of two conflicting sides, isn't it? Because on one hand, don't think Jim would get involved if that wasn't going to be the case. But I don't think Joel and Avi, I don't think they'd back themselves into a corner either. So
no. I think this is a good super chat, and when you do look at the maths of some of it, you can choose to maybe look at it this way, which is interesting. Super chat from Jason's Music Lab says it's important to remember that the Glazer share is being reduced to 44%, meaning they have a majority but not a controlling majority. That is good for United. And MUFC and Music says injury-prone Varane needs to go. We're going to get to Varane in just a second, but just looking at some of the facts. Currently, the Glazers own 74.81% of United, so basically 75%. That is going to be reduced essentially by 25%. So it's
they were saying before it was 69, didn't they?
The latest one I got, that's from Wikipedia. It might have changed since then. Maybe it is a little bit less than that. Yeah. So say they basically got 70%. So that's where basically that, like you said, it would go down to essentially 44, 45. So yeah, that is true. they don't have over half of the business anymore, which again they are loosening, and hopefully that could be gradual. You'd want that to happen, and then before you know it, hopefully, like you said, Owen, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has more than that 25%. Then
and also
he's the majority, along with the other shareholders.
And also, as well, you could get into the territory of, again, I know we're talking about Class A and Class B shares, and I'm going to profess myself to be a complete and total expert on it.
Yeah.
But who's to say that, during the time in which, INEOS are looking at acquiring more Glazer shares, they don't look at some of the other minority shareholders and go, hey, we'll buy yours as well. They might be making those kind of goods. They might sort of gradually over time try and sort of increase their shareholding that way too. It'd be interesting to see what David Hellier would say about it, wouldn't it?
Yes.
What possible, theoretically, what possible roadmaps could INEOS have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just not just through the Glazers, but for others.
I could potentially, hopefully, be doing something with Bloomberg very soon. Watch this space. It would be very interesting if this happens. So I don't want to jinx things, but be very interested to see. Don't no judge, no flex judge, but an opportunity has presented itself to me, of which is really, really interesting. It's something that I've never done before. So yeah, let's watch this space. Who knows? Maybe I'll never get to do it. I don't know. Maybe it will crumble. I don't know. Smash the like on the video. We're at 1,000 people watching live. 150 likes. Let's go. Let's
talk about percentages. We're gonna get higher percentage. We're gonna get higher percentage.
Let's go. Exactly. It's not the Flex and David Hellier show. No, it's not. I promise you.
Oh, it'd be tremendous. Imagine the Flex and KG intro. You outside Old Trafford walking
with David Hellier with his little headset.
You behind him.
David Hellier, what a guy. But no, do you know what though? Big up to David Hellier, because we reached out to him in a time where we wanted to find out more information, and he came on the channel. He's come on the channel quite a few times, and you'd be surprised, or maybe not. He does message me a lot in private when things are starting to happen and things are starting to accelerate or decelerate, has been the case of a lot of things. But I'm not the person, I'll be honest. Obviously, some people could say, what's the point in getting certain information if you're not going to share it? But I would rather not be the guy to say, I know this secret thing and I'm going to say that I know because I want to be first. And, oh, yeah, the United View, we was able to say that this. I'd rather just wait until it becomes proper common knowledge through, because when you start going down that, I'm an insider and all that, because I'm not. I'm completely not that. I'm a content creator who just loves Man United. It's way above my pay grade. But it is good to know, to verify things and to get these people on so that they can give their perspective, because it's not our bag. This is not our bag.
It's like Man United, get experts in. Get experts in.
Exactly. We're like how Man United needs to be. Get the experts in class to come and do the correct stuff. When it's talking about financials and how this process works and all that, speak to the financial analysts, speak to the finance people. We're just going to be we're going to look at it from one perspective of emotion and some logic, because we're not thick. We're fans. We're smart people, but it's not a lot of our fortes, unless a lot of you who work in finance are watching this, who also do have a big love for it. No. Raul says, Flex, love you, mate. Been watching you since United Stand. Forgot to ask, why is it that top YouTubers like you and Adam Stott end up leaving the United Stand? I don't know. People just go on to different things, I suppose. It's life, yeah. Life. You have to ask Adam his reasons, but yeah, for me, I had amazing. I had 4 years there, man. I mean, me and Josh was on there. Everyone, KG, it's great times. Helped get the channel to 1 million subscribers. Great work by everyone, and look at the work that they've continued to do, and they're growing because of it. Because United Stands is a machine, so it's yeah. But I left just to do my own thing, and look how happy I am doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing. Look at the community we've built. UV community. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's brilliant. And big up to Adam as well. Saw that he left as well, so good luck to whatever he goes on to do. Big up to Adam as well. MUFC and Music says Raul chop for 2 reasons. One they want. I'll be honest. I'm not. I can see that super chat, but I ain't trying to. You know what I mean? Say this, that about that person, and you know, mark this and that. That's not what I'm here to do, man. So big up to you guys. But there is another super chat there from MUFC and music. I did see it, but I'm not going to get involved in all that. It's not my thing. You don't know me by now. It's not my style. It's not my thing. I just want to crack on and make UV the best that it can be. And that's what we're doing. We've got to talk about this.
Would you like some Varane and Casemiro news, Flex?
Yeah, the ghost. I need to have a. I want to have a. I might even do a Flex's view on Varane.
Yeah,
I might even do like a, because it's very personal.
A soliloquy. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the Muppeteers have been saying that there's a good chance that Raphael Varane will leave Manchester United in the summer. He has interest from Saudi Arabia and elsewhere. Casemiro also has interest from Saudi and could leave possibly within the next 12 months. When it comes to Varane too, look, it's a very interesting time for him, isn't it? It's a very interesting time. I saw that. Obviously, I think it was that Insider United account was saying that it's not, you know, and there might have been injuries and illness, but there's a bit more going on with Raphael Varane and Erik ten Hag. Of course, didn't play Manchester Derby, didn't play in the Carabao Cup, didn't play against Fulham. Wasn't gonna, let's face it, wasn't gonna play against Copenhagen.
No, really been
Johnny Evans gets injured, comes on. Have the best of games, shall we say? Obviously, was at fault for. Is it the last goal? He's at fault for.
Yeah, first one went kind of through his legs, but you let that off.
Yeah,
but
the last
goal
one
was just pathetic. Yeah.
And look, and then a lot of people now start talking about Flex. You know, just the longer term strategy of signing these players, which is when you can kind of put Casemiro into it. And it's not to say that these players aren't good or haven't been good, and it's certainly not to say that the people that are in the team instead of them at the moment are better. I don't think anyone with a straight face can say that, oh yeah, Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans are better than Raphael Varane. I don't think anyone can say that because it's not true. Clearly, it's not true. But at the same time, when you're talking about long-termness and you're talking about planning for the future, have these been the wisest signings, or was this, you know, a sense of immediacy from Manchester United?
Do you know what, Owen? Revisionism is amazing, because the rivals will say, "We told you when you got Varane. There's no longevity in that. You're giving him big wages. In a year or two, you can't shift him, and you know he's going to be surplus." Same with Varane, and overall, it does show the lack of planning for the bigger picture, but it also shows how bad we are in the immediate moments, that we need instant quality. You can't turn your nose up sometimes at instant quality, instant experience, and instant upgrades. But it doesn't always mean that it's the best thing long term, you know.
And that's not to say that Maguire and Evans are either, because again, when you mention
no, they're not.
Go, so you're saying Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire, the long term strategy? No, again,
no, they're not.
They shouldn't be here either.
Exactly,
that's the point.
And that's the point. They shouldn't be here. Man United should not be in that position. But on Rafa, like, look, let's be honest. The injuries, the unavailability, you know, and now this, whatever this is a thing. I don't care what anyone says. That sounds quite rude, but in my opinion, I'm like, I am convinced this is something. I don't know what it is, so I can't just speculate and say it is this thing happened and now they hate each other, him and Ten Hag. But something has happened. Maybe it is just a switch that flicked with Ten Hag after a realization of something, and he went, actually, I can't continue to play him at this bit. He's not going to be fit enough. I don't really like the balance, and I've changed my mind. Because let's be honest, whenever he was fit, he was the first defender's name on the team sheet. Really, obviously, him and Martinez is the proper partnership that we want. But he changed his mind, and something happened. You don't leave Raphael Varane out of the derby. You then don't leave him out the Carabao Cup, and then the game against Fulham, where we thought that's why he did miss the Carabao Cup, and then our toughest game to date away at Copenhagen, which we ended up losing. But go with Johnny Evans and Maguire, and on top of that, come in the media and say the reasons why. And the reasons why were tactical at Man City, but doubling down. Don't like them two together, mate. I've got to choose one or the other. And actually, I choose Maguire over him now, because he does more of what I want him to do.
Well,
which is insane.
It's more in the sense of he's been available, you know, more often, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I think he might look at when Varane came on and feel like he was justified, because You look at them trying to play together and leads to a mistake. It leads to a mistake, from two, I guess, right-sided centre-backs, and one's having to play left centre-back there as well. So he might feel that he's justified. Like you said, I think there's more to it. Clearly there is more to it. I mean, I'm speculating here, but you would think maybe Varane felt a bit disrespected that he wasn't started in the Manchester derby for Johnny Evans.
No, but something must happen just before that, though, for that to happen.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, what's the reason why he didn't start?
Maybe.
Eric's saying it's tactical that he didn't start that.
But again, then maybe that's why he feels disrespected. He's going, you're saying it's tactical.
Mate.
Tactical. It's Johnny Evans. You know what I mean? No disrespect, Johnny, but it's Johnny Evans. And then, look, that might be as simple as that. It might just be a bit like with Ronaldo. You know, when you go into the manager truly does believe it's tactical, but the player says, well, if you're saying it's tactical, that's really disrespectful to me.
And I'm a big man in the game.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
A big man in the game. You can't tell me that Johnny Evans is playing ahead of me.
And it might be like that. And I think from Ten Hag's point of view, and this is why we shouldn't be shocked. Like when that team news came out on Wednesday, people, I can't believe Varane's not playing. I can't believe it's the same back four. Why are we shocked at that? He literally told us 24 hours before, like, when are you going to start playing better? He went, when I could name a starting 11 or 12 or 13 players, that is pretty much the same every week. Consistency. When I have a stable starting 11 or 12 or 13 players, we will play better. And he was right. He was right. Because prior to the red card, we were playing better. We played our best football of the season prior to the red card on Wednesday. And from his point of view, he'll probably look at it as, well, I only have to make one change, and that was bringing Rashford in. That was it, and that's one of the rare times this season he's been able to do that, particularly with the back four. That back four that's played is one of our most sort of stable back fours that we've had this season. And now that's going to change because Johnny Evans is out. And the really interesting one is going to be, once again, tomorrow at Old Trafford. He's got the dilemma again of going, do I play Maguire and Varane? But it's probably not going to be that. It's probably going to be Maguire and Lindelof.
It will be. If we don't play tomorrow against Luton, it's over.
It will be. Well, it will be Maguire and Lindelof tomorrow. It will be. Yeah. I'm sure of it.
And you know what? I'm not disagreeing with you. And when that happens, / if that happens, but it does feel more like a when. He's basically the new Harry Maguire.
It might be, and it might be.
No, and again, I'm saying that is Owen. Like we're saying Raphael Varane is turning into, in terms of placement in the squad, where he's ranked of when he's going to play. Bro, he's not going to play over Johnny Evans. He's not going to play over Lindelof. And now for the left centre back, he clearly ain't going to play over Martinez when he's back. Sorry, well, he needs to play right centre back. Yeah, because he's not going to play over it. Yeah, bro, and he's not playing over Maguire. And if Luke Shaw was fit, then it's back to, well, I wouldn't play Varane left centre back. I'll play Luke Shaw. He's fifth choice. And just like that.
Just like that. And
crazy.
What we need realistically, because you've got Lisandro Martinez, who's like the long-term option at left centre back. We need that younger right-sided centre back that's the one moving forward for the next 5 or 10 years. That's realistically who we need. Yeah. And because whoever that is, because we were saying that anyway, wouldn't we? We're going to end of the season. It's probably time, isn't it? That's what we were saying, wasn't it? End of the season is probably time.
Exactly.
And maybe it's just sped up. Maybe it's just maybe it's sped up by 6 months, and maybe it's got a lot more acrimonious than maybe we thought it would. I think there was a bit of assumption because when Saudi were interested in him in the summer, it was a bit like, oh, yeah, maybe next summer. Maybe it's just come quicker. Maybe again, and maybe that it's blown up way faster than people had anticipated. But when you look at long term, we've always needed to replace Raphael Varane within the next 12 months. We've always needed that.
Sean Ryland says, Flex, you have lauded this guy for years, and now he has a bad few games. You turn your back on him. I don't know if you've just listened.
So you're saying he's terrible, Flex. He's rubbish. He's never been good. No, of course he's not. Of course he's been good. Sean. Of course he's been however many times Champions League winner. Of course he's been the ghost of Rafe, the Phantom, all that kind of stuff. But we've been having this conversation about Raphael Varane for like 6 months, saying at the end of the season we need to replace him. Nothing's changed in that regard. And actually, when we were in the summer, I can't remember if I said we should sell him or not. But certainly in my mind, I was thinking, if we can get a younger centre back in, again, long-term strategy.
That's what we were supposed to do. We're supposed to go and get Todibo or Disasi, or Disasi don't actually look that great. But you know what I mean? The next young, we said the next young up and coming Varane.
Because the hope was,
and
again, the hope was that it was going to be Maguire going. We bring in a Todibo or something like that, and then this season, Varane and Todibo sort of swap in and out, and then at the end of the season, Varane goes, and then you've got the long-term centre back, and you bring in someone else.
Exactly.
Now, maybe just again talking about roadmaps, that roadmap's gone a bit like that, all over the place, or whatever.
Nothing goes the way it's supposed to go at Man United. And to Sean, who was saying, you would laud and think that's part of like. If you support a player, is not blindly just going, everything's fine, why is everyone onto it? The future definitely is in Varane because the future's not in Rafa. It's not. We can't base our rebuild off that. In this period, he's been a calm figure, top draw defender. When he's fit, he is our best defender. I still believe that. But he's not fit enough. And now it is getting a bit tactical where the manager wants certain demands. And obviously the best part of Rafa's game, which I can admit as a Raphael Varane fan, the best part of his game is not passing out from the back and hitting diagonal balls and stuff. The best part of his game is being organised. The best part of the game is sniffing out the danger before it happens. And, passing the ball, quickly and crisply across the back. He can't really pass into midfield or step out with the ball, hit long diags. That's not his game. And Ten Hag's alluding to the balance of that and that he doesn't like it anymore. And I dare say something else has happened. But like I said, Owen, we've been talking about that for a while. And let's just be honest, yeah? I'm gonna be honest. Varane and Casemiro, I'll be honest, end of the season, Saudi need to save us. Saudi need to take. They need to save us.
Both, then we take.
They need to save us 100%. There is no. Excuse me. Obviously, Casemiro. It's not about turning you back. Casemiro has been a shadow of himself this season, and now has this long-term injury that's going to keep him out till January, February, which obviously isn't great. He can come back after that, and obviously be influential and see it out to the end of the season. But again, if we're trying to go in the right direction, I think we need to invest in. And in the word is invest, in the next up and coming replacement for these guys.
Strategy. It's strategy.
Yeah.
And it's not to say with Raphael Varane and Casemiro that they haven't done well since they come in, because they have. Casemiro was one of our players of the season last year. Yeah. And again, that doesn't take away what he did for last season. It doesn't take away what he's done in his career or anything like that. It's just those questions that people had at the time, they're proving to probably be accurate in the sense of, okay, where is the long-term strategy with this signing? If, for instance, like someone like a Casemiro and someone like a Varane, they've still got an abundance of quality, but they're almost not suited for a team like Man United, who is perpetually struggling and perpetually so up and down. If you drop Raphael Varane or Casemiro into Manchester City today, they'd be fine. They'd be fine, and they'd probably be putting in great.
They still operate at a high level, yeah.
When you need their sort of peak abilities to kind of grab you up and pull you up because you're so bad, which is how Man United are, then they look exposed and they get exposed. It's not to say that they're washed. It's not to say that they've never been good for us, because they have. It's not about rewriting history, and it's also not about overreacting based on bad form or anything like that. When it comes to Varane, like I said, we've had this conversation for 6 months. Casemiro, yeah, we were lauding him last season too, but once again, when you look at the long-term strategy of it, you sort of go, that wasn't smart. Like it wasn't smart to put Casemiro on a 5-year contract. It just wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. And again, I remember when that report came out with Jim Ratcliffe when he visited Old Trafford and Carrington in March, and he pointed at Casemiro as a sign of wanting explanation on that, people got really offended by it. And they sort of said, what's he saying? Casemiro shit? No, he's just sort of going like, on paper, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, where's the strategy in that? Where is the long-term strategy?
And it was music to Casemiro's ears. Obviously, he came, and has been completely committed to the cause. He was brilliant last season. But the contract that we gave him massive security. When you're 30 plus and you get a 5-year deal, man, at United 350 or 300, whatever he's on. Oh, my days. Oh, my days. Yes.
And we were desperate. And again, not to put down Casemiro, we were desperate at that time. Like you can't
because of lack of planning. Obviously, the young thing, the whole window.
And the start to the season, you know, what happened? We went Casemiro. It was done fairly quickly. They were negotiating with him when we lost to Brentford because there was the phone call. I'll fix this and all this kind of stuff. Same with Anthony. You know, we were panicking. Decided not to go in for him earlier on too much. Lost the first couple of games. Screw it. We need signings. Ten Hag, get Anthony, and we overspent. And again, that is a lack of planning. You paint yourselves into a corner, you gamble, and every transfer is a gamble. I understand that, but you gamble, and then you find yourselves in situations like now where you go, actually, and how are we going to get rid of them? Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Greg Frost says Casemiro, Martial, Varane, Lindelof, Sancho, 5 most likely to leave, ? Sancho, definitely. Martial, definitely. Varane, at this stage, with how it looks like it's going to go, unless there's injuries where he has to come back in, but I think he's up there. Lindelof's an interesting one because Lindelof kind of understands his role as always being that sort of
backup.
You know? But maybe it's one season too many of doing that. He might feel. 5 are they the 5 most likely though? I would probably say out of
Martial for sure. His contract's coming up. It's not going to be extended.
He's going to go.
He's gone. Sancho for sure. He's going to go. Varane, it feels likely, doesn't it?
It feels likely. That Casemiro might get 1 more year out of, but keep the squad on, because you got to remember the likes of, you know, even Harry Maguire. You know, that still could rear its neck again. You know, at the end of the season.
But the talk of like Maguire going in January, I think, is dead at this point.
No chance.
Because you know, like before, it was like, well, you know, if we hadn't had the injuries and he hadn't got back into the side, then it was like January he'll go because he's too close to the Euros. Whereas now he's played enough football that Gareth Southgate can be like, you playing in Euros.
How mad's that though as well? Like you see that whole thing of why you keep picking players don't play. Plays every game, mate. Starting said about for Man United, and he's been all right.
Well, and also when he got picked for the first international break, when he came on against Arsenal, that was the first time he'd kicked the ball.
Yeah, it's meant.
And we were like, and justifiably so, we were like, well, he shouldn't be. He hasn't kicked the ball until then, and then now he's kicking the ball most often. Right?
Do you think Gareth Southgate and Harry Maguire like proper doing? You all laughed at us. You all laughed. You all said get out. You all said I wouldn't. You all said I won't play. You all said now look at me. I'm #1 centre back. Starting over and goes to Rafe Defender.
It's more circumstance, isn't it? It's a lot of it is circumstance. But look, his performances.
Manager said it's tactical, mate.
Well, in the sense of he wouldn't have had that opportunity if both our centre backs didn't get injured again. You know, the same thing happened to us that happened against Sevilla.
But his decision though. But Harry Maguire's decision was, I'll stick this out. I'll wait this. I'm going to get an opportunity. I will take it. Watch. Some of these men will get injured. Johnny Evans is older now. Rafael Varane always gets injured. He probably knew that maybe Martinez wasn't quite right. So he's probably gone. He's bided his chances. He's gambled. He's more than gambled. He's taken a strategic look at it. Plus, be on the Man United contract, be on the P's, and say, "Nah, I'll do 1 more year. I will get a chance."
And what I will say with Maguire is, and I've seen this quite a lot. Like, and look, we haven't been playing well recently. Of course, we haven't. Even Ten Hag said that himself. He said we've been playing rubbish, but the most important thing is that you win, particularly if you're not playing well. But I have seen like after games where Maguire's done okay, people go, "Oh, Maguire's he did play well today." And you go, "Well, he did."
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did play well. It's not that I think of long term, and he still shouldn't, and he still shouldn't be here. But it's like if someone's played well, you can say they played well, and also they're not mutually exclusive. They played well, they still shouldn't be here. Like that can still be, you know what I mean? That can still be a thing. And he still does need to go long term, but I'll see what happens.
Exactly, but right now is our #1 starting centre back. Give him the captaincy back, please. So you're saying, yes, I am.
I know it's early, but the judge had to say.
The judge had to say it. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to United View if you are new. 222 likes. We can push that up on the way. I'm sure we can get up to 300 on the way out of the door. Owen will be live. Press conference reaction. We also have another United therapy coming today. Me and Avelina. Yeah. You guys asked for it. It had to happen. AV called me and he went, Flex, I need to talk again. I need to come in. We recorded it yesterday.
Book an appointment.
You had to
book another appointment. I need another
appointment. So another episode of United View, United Therapy, coming out later on tonight at 6 as well. So much to look forward to. And the late night presser reaction and the late night reaction.
Yeah.
You be live in the evening. Late night news. Yeah, exactly. So loads more to come. Take care, guys. We'll see you again later on today. Peace.